Every week, as usual, we bring you the quiz in English, followed by Hindi, and we select 10 questions that are really not general knowledge per se, but they are questions that make you question a lot of things. So it's a question that leads to many more questions. So with that, a very quick introduction to who's behind India Fact Quiz, what are we doing, why do we do what we do. We're supported by India Spend, which is a data journalism newsroom. And the importance of data journalism is that it allows numbers, data, and evidence to tell a story as opposed to opinions, which I think we have too much of, and we could probably use a little more logic and scientific temperament and data and numbers and all of those good things. And we do this really because we want people to question everything. We want people to know the progress our country is making on things like education, health, gender rights. These are really big issues which actually have an impact on how we're going to progress, what kind of economic path we're going to go down. And especially in times like this, I think we really have to get back to the basics and really know more about what's going on around us. And the book that we have at the end of every quiz, we give just books, except on special occasions. And this week we have Suchitra Vijayan's Midnight's Border. And it's a very interesting concept because this is a people's modern history. In fact, it has been really sort of given some very rave, this book has earned her very rave reviews as one of the best history books of 2022. And what this, she's also a journalist, she's a lawyer, this writer has done is she has spent 7 years visiting India's borders and really trying to understand the dynamics there, and then sort of, putting that, I mean, because we all know that when India, achieved independence, the borders were very hastily drawn. And in some areas, it really didn't make much sense. It was a rather meaningless, although essential thing that had to be done. It should have been a little more thoughtful. And she's actually gone and really got those stories back to us, which is absolutely fascinating. And we're going to definitely try and get her on the Game of Facts at some point in time, hopefully before the year gets through, because it's a very fascinating book and would really love to understand her journey and what she really found, or the standout points that she found as she was discovering a new dimension and a facet of history, modern history. And she's gone to Myanmar, she's gone to Bangladesh, the border that India shares with Bangladesh, Nepal. So it's a very different book, all right? And yeah, I think, somebody who's traveled 9,000 miles, I'm sure she has tons and tons to tell us. Okay, so with that, that's the book that 3 lucky winners are going to get today. And I promise you, this week's quiz is very straightforward. No puzzle questions, a lot of true or false, a lot of I think it's last week's quiz was a bit difficult. And this time I've tried to make up. We heard you, and I agree it was a difficult quiz, but actually all our quizzes are quite difficult and you guys really crack it every time. So this week's is a very straightforward quiz. Just one, I think, one announcement that I'd like to make is that next week on Saturday at 5 p.m., we have an author who's going to be in the house. And this author is also a journalist, is with the Hindustan Times, has written his debut novel called Intersections. His name is Gautam Mengle. And he's also a stand-up comedian, by the way, and he's a cybersecurity junkie. So he's a very interesting, fascinating person. And we're going to be talking about his book, which is an absolute fiction. So that is going to happen next week. So I know Diwali is coming up, and I'm sure your parents are going to drag you in and make you help clean the house and do a whole lot of things. But just keep some time aside for the game of facts. All right. So with that, I'm now going to share my screen, and you will see the game pin on it. So here we have already Shreyan, Rohit, Shantanu, Udit, Kartikeya, Mayur, Priya, Adit, Adarsh, Sita Lakshmi, Padmaja, Anuj, Ayush, Vanshika, Shweta, the Chabras. Oh, there are lucky mascot. Kartikeya just got in. Anjay, Parisha, Gaurav, Niharika, Ravi, Madan, Paras, Dhruv, Shruti, Gaurav. Hey guys, Sharvani's come with a new emoji. I really hope it's lucky for you. Thank you all so much for joining us. And it's really wonderful to just have this very special group of factivists. And we have something interesting coming up, but I'm not going to, there'll be too many things. And as time goes by, we'll be introducing that platform as well. But we really appreciate the time you spend with us, and we feel extremely overwhelmed and indebted. And I really think that we're on to something big. So with that, I'm going to start the quiz. And as usual, we have a few poll questions, very straightforward, simple. The top 3 questions that we have in this quiz, no marks for this. It's really to get your opinion and what you think about certain things. So here we have it. I hope everything is all right and everyone's got the game pin, no confusion. I hope my Wi-Fi connection stays the way it is right till the end of the quiz and everything goes well. All right. So the first question coming up, what bothers or affects you the most? Is it discrimination, narrow-mindedness, dishonesty, or indifference? Like, which of these for you is like hurts very, very, very much from these 4? I mean, there are, of course, many other things that affects us, but we've got these 4. So I think narrow-mindedness for this group is really something that does affect us. Dishonesty, discrimination, and then indifference. I mean, that's okay. We can manage and live with that. Okay. The next question, and this is a multi-select. When someone you know is treated badly or unfairly, do you feel bad and helpless and you sympathize with the person? Or do you feel like this anger and rage and like you really want to like voice your opinion? Or do you feel sorry for the person, but you don't always react there and then? Or do you like say, doesn't matter, believe in karma, it's going to come and hit that person back? So, okay, so sympathizing, empathy, these are, of course, important aspects. And of course, sometimes standing up for when you feel somebody is not treated fairly or well is also important to do. And of course, karma is always there. And yeah, sometimes I think I've done that, where I've really felt horrible. I've really felt bad, but I feel like probably that's not the time to react because it'll just make things worse probably, or, maybe there's another way of sort of approaching or addressing the issue. And the last one, if you could delete or erase one thing from the face of the earth, it would be inequality, caste-based discrimination, religion-based discrimination, or gender-based discrimination. One of these, you could just like press that delete button and it would disappear forever. What would that be? Okay, so clearly it's just like the haves and the have-nots. They've become very stark, right? The ultra rich, and then you have the very poor. And sometimes you feel like, no, that can't be. And then we have religion-based discrimination, which, yes, again, another man-made concept, which is kind of, sort of really affecting us in more ways than we'd imagine. Gender-based discrimination, that's like we can unpack that Pandora's box and it'll still keep throwing up surprises that we didn't imagine. And then we have, of course, caste-based discrimination. Again, I mean, all of these literally are man-made structures. And I think we just have to figure out a way of dealing with it. So really interesting. Thank you all so much. We're going to get into the quiz. 10 questions, promise you, very straightforward. I think you will enjoy this. All right. So here we have the first question and double points for this one. The top 10% of Indian population holds X% of the total national wealth. Is it 87%, 77%, 67%, or 57%? All these numbers are all anyway high. So 18 of you said 77%, and you are correct. I'm just looking at the, okay, so you have the explanation that's coming in there. This is the Oxfam report, and there's a little more interesting things that come out of it as well. So we'll take a look at the scoreboard, and Neerav, Padmaja, Pushpa, Rohit, and Shailesh are in the top 5, and they answered the question correct and were very quick at it. All right. The next question, between 2018 and 2022, India is estimated to have produced X new millionaires every day. We're talking every day. This is the number of millionaires that emerged, 50, 20, 70, or 40. So 31 of you went for the highest number. And this is sort of really where, you can't wrap your head around the fact that the world is going through a pandemic. And yet the rich are getting richer and we're getting more millionaires. In fact, the millionaires and the billionaires made more money than ever imagined in their lifetime of amassing wealth. And you're thinking, my gosh, I mean, this pandemic would have at least democratized or made some things equal, but actually it really it just made the stark difference, that inequality even more stark for the world. But yes, India added 70 millionaires every single day between 2018 and 2022. So we now have Padmaja, Shailesh, Ayush, Adarsh, and Anuj. And Sita Lakshmi is doing pretty well. So double points for this question. The number of billionaires in India. I know we all know of 2, but we're saying, is it 59, 19, 119, or 29? We're talking billionaires. So the 37 of you went for the highest number. You are correct. It is 119 billionaires. We probably will ask our question, do we really need so many billionaires? And the number it continues to grow. But yes, this is the current number. And here we have a new scoreboard, actually. It's Ayush, Adarsh, Sagar, Pratham, and Shweta. Double points for this question. Between 2019 and 2022, X% of bylined articles in print media were written by upper caste journalists. So byline is basically where you have the news article and below that you have the name of the journalist. Is it 50%, 80%, 40%, or 60%? So the 17 of you that went for 60%, and I can completely understand because I actually went for 80%. So the ones that went for 60%, you are correct. 60% of the articles in the media were written by upper caste journalists. This is extremely important considering that it is really not representative of who we actually are. So there are some more questions related to this, and it really throws up some very interesting nuggets for thought. So it's now Rohit, Shetty, Shantanu, Swati, and Nicey. I hope Rohit and Shetty are not the same persons, but anyway. This is a true or false. Between 2019 and 2022, the percentage of upper caste editors and media proprietors actually grew in Hindi and English newspapers. Is this true or false? So yes, actually it has grown in this period. And therefore, what happens is, it's very lopsided, right? Because now you have the media, which is supposed to be the fourth pillar of democracy, which is now really not representative of, the population and in the country. So demographically and also caste-wise. We'll take a look at the scoreboard, a bit of shift. Rohit, Shantanu, Darshan, Ayush, and Shetty. Darshan, you should be quite happy with yourself. I'm seeing your name after quite some time, so not bad. Double points for this question. Number of scheduled castes and scheduled tribe news anchors on English news media channels. We're just focusing on English news media channels. We're asking you the number of scheduled caste or scheduled tribe news anchors, 15, 5, 0, or 10. So the 15 of you that went for 0, you are correct. And this is where the problem lies, right? So the stories of and the issues of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, the other backward classes have really no representative in the newsroom. So it's not very good when it comes to news anchors, and it's even pretty bad when it comes to panelists who are on the news channel shows. So there's even an analysis that has been done of the panelists who are invited to the news channel, debates and discussions, and the representation from scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes is absolutely pathetic. So now it is Darshan, Shantanu, Sita Lakshmi, Rohit, and Mayur. I know it's a bit of a slightly difficult one. Now we're talking about digital media. Writers of 55% of articles were upper caste, and less than X% of these articles were written by scheduled caste, scheduled tribe journalists. Is it 10%, 15%, 5%, or 20%? So we know that 55% of the articles were written by upper caste, and we're asking what percentage was written by SCST journalists. And it's literally somewhere in the range of 5%, which is just so, what a gap, right? It just doesn't make sense at all, and probably tells us a lot of what is actually so wrong in the media. So sometimes when we're trying to understand and analyze, why is it that the media's voice is not coming through, or, we're not hearing enough of, for example, manual scavenging or reservations for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, or, issues related to those sections of society, and they are very representative of all of us. I think it becomes much more clearer when you look at ownership patterns of media organizations. And then it's sort of a bulb goes off in the head and say, yeah, it's obvious, right? Why we're not getting to hear the stories. Or even if we hear the stories, the language and the understanding of the complexity of the issue is not there. So it's now Darshan, Shantanu, Sita Lakshmi, Mayur, and Isha. And we're getting into the last few questions. During the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic, the sharpest increase in unemployment at 17% was for women, Dalits, migrant workers, or Muslims. So the 2% of two of you actually that said Muslims, you are correct. I know we wouldn't have, I never even imagined. I too assumed it was migrant workers that probably saw the sharpest increase in unemployment during lockdown. But actually it was Muslims. And again, this is using government data. So it's not like somebody's come up with something from thin air or whatever. This is government data that has been analyzed, and this is what the results are. So we'll get into, I think everything stayed the same. So we'll get into the next question. Between 2019 and 2022, every month on average, men earned 4,000 rupees more than women. Is this statement true or false? So yes, on an average, in this period, men did earn at least 4,000 rupees more than women. So we're a long way away from any pay parity. And then it gets even worse when it comes to, you start analyzing, other sections. So it's Darshan, Shantanu, Mayur, Sita Lakshmi, and Isha. And the last question, every month on average, non-Muslims earned 7,000 rupees more than Muslims. Is this statement true or false? So we've compared men and women, and now we're comparing non-Muslims and Muslims. True. So between men and women, we're looking at a difference of 4,000 rupees. And then when we actually get into religion, it becomes even more stark, because now we're talking of 7,000 rupees as opposed to 4,000 rupees. It's now 7,000 rupees. Again, I'll just impress upon the fact that this is all government data, and this has been released in the Oxfam discrimination report. In fact, Oxfam today is having an open session, and I'm more than happy to share the link. If anybody's interested, please let me know on Instagram or Twitter or wherever. We'll be happy to share the link to that press conference where they will be talking about their discrimination report. It's the discrimination report for 2022. And some of the this is some of the data points, but some of the data points are just extremely, extremely depressing. So if anything, we just need to be a little aware that there is discrimination that happens, and we just need to be a little more mindful and make sure that we don't allow it to perpetuate, right? I mean, somewhere it has to stop with us, and we're going to stop the game of facts for English right now, but Hindi is just coming up. And I think, yeah, Mayur, you won the link. What I will do is, maybe, I know you're on Instagram, so maybe I can share it there, or maybe during Meenal's quiz, I'm going to put that link in. I'm sure it's going to be a fascinating discussion. All right, so I'm going to go to the podium now, and let's see who the 3 lucky winners of Midnight's Borders are. Mayur, you've won Suchitra Vijayan's Midnight's Borders, along with Shantanu. And in the number 1 spot, we have Darshan. Congratulations, Darshan. I think you've won after a really long time. Sita Lakshmi and Prem, both of you played very, very well. I'm sure you're going to come back in the number 1, number 2 spot in the coming weeks. So enjoy Midnight's Borders. By the way, Suchitra will be very happy to get your feedback on her book. And don't forget, Meenal's coming up right now with the Hindi quiz. So I'm not going to take any more time. And just take a quick screenshot, whatever, please fill up the Google form, whatever you have to do. And I'm now going to stop sharing, and I'll stop my video as well because Meenal's going to come on and take you through the Hindi quiz.
Hello, good evening and welcome all of you. अभी अभी आपने इंग्लिश क्विज खेला है और अब हम हिंदी क्विज स्टार्ट करने वाले हैं सेम वे जैसे हमने सिमिलर वे में जैसे आपने इंग्लिश क्विज खेला है वैसे ही आप हिंदी क्विज भी खेलेंगे. इट्स गोइंग टू बी 10 क्वेश्चंस एंड वेरी क्विकली हम एक के बाद एक खेलेंगे सो दैट योर फ्लो डजंट ब्रेक. और अभी मैं आपको किताब के बारे में बताऊंगी जो आज आप जीत कर जाएंगे. उससे पहले मैं अपनी स्क्रीन शेयर कर देती हूँ ताकि आप सब जो गेम पिन है वो एंटर कर लें और अपनी ईमेल आईडी और अपना नाम एंटर करके जल्दी से जल्दी कहूट पे रेडी रह सकते हैं सो दैट व्हेन आई स्टार्ट विद द गेम यू आर ऑल सेट टू जस्ट विन योर बुक. और आई थिंक रोहित इज आस्किंग फॉर हिज बुक. रोहित, आप connect@indiafactquiz.com पर लिख सकते हैं हमें अपनी क्वेरी के बारे में एंड वील रिप्लाई टू यू. और आपको जो भी आपकी किताब का अपडेट है जो भी if any of you who haven't received a book you can write to us at connect@indiafactquiz and we will surely give you an update about your book. तो चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं हमारा आज का क्विज. मैं अपनी स्क्रीन शेयर करने वाली हूँ और जो गेम पिन है वो आप स्क्रीन पर देख सकते हैं. It's 5967650 and thank you all so much. आप हर सैटरडे हमारे साथ जुड़ते हैं और ये गेम खेलते हैं. टू back-to-back rounds of quizzing. It's really interesting to see all of you join every Saturday. उन्हें मिलेगी लोहे का बक्सा और बंदूक. ये इस किताब का नाम है और ये लिखी है मिथिलेश प्रियदर्शी ने. ये ऑथर की फर्स्ट स्टोरी कलेक्शन है एंड it focuses on joys and sorrows और जो आयनीज होती हैं एक ट्राइबल लाइफ की. एक व्यक्ति के एक जो ट्राइबल लाइफ जी रहा है उनकी जो जॉयज हैं सॉरोज हैं उसके ऊपर ये आधारित है. एंड एक तरफ जो कैरेक्टर्स हैं इस किताब के दे आर गेटिंग क्रश्ड अंडर द वायलेंट ऑटोक्रेसी ऑफ पावर और दूसरी तरफ वो उसी जो 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 एट्रोसिटीज हो रही हैं उसको रेजिस्ट करते हुए उस ऑपरेशन को रेजिस्ट करते हुए कैसे जी रहे हैं. ये इस किताब में ये कहानियां हैं. सो 3 of you will win लोहे का बक्सा और बंदूक बाय मिथिलेश प्रियदर्शी. और आई थिंक नाउ वी हैव एवरीबडी हु इज वांटेड टू जॉइन. और अगर कोई भी और है जो जल्दी से अपना पिन देखिए और अपने डिवाइस पर उसे कहूट में एंटर कीजिए एंड जस्ट क्विकली एंटर द गेम सो दैट यू कैन बिगिन. कोई पोल क्वेश्चंस नहीं है बिकॉज यू हैड full game just before this. तो चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं हमारा आज का क्विज. दिस इज week 23 of the Hindi game of facts और it is powered by factchecker.in and India Spend. Let's begin. आज का जो हमारा पहला क्वेश्चन है that is here in front of you. सालाना लगभग 53 से 56 लाख आरटीआई आवेदन यानी कि आरटीआई एप्लीकेशंस दायर किए जाते हैं. अबाउट 53 to 56 लाख आरटीआई एप्लीकेशंस आर फाइल्ड एनुअली. क्या ये सही है या गलत? हम आरटीआई जो राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन है उसकी जो एप्लीकेशंस है उसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. तो ऑन एन एवरेज एवरी ईयर 53 to 56 लाख registrations are filed और ये सही है and 29 of you got this correct. लगभग 17 years हो चुके हैं जब से RTI Act has come into place. It came into being in 2005 और it was to provide transparency, hold government accountable and fight corruption. और तब से लेकर अब तक बहुत सी ऐसी RTI applications हैं जो हर साल आती हैं and 53 to 56 lakh applications are filed every year. So with this we have our scoreboard. And we have Mayur, Anuj, Neerav, Kartikeya, Prem who've given correct answer and the fastest. तो चलते हैं हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन की तरफ. सार्वजनिक प्राधिकरणों द्वारा आरटीआई आवेदनों की अस्वीकृति यानी कि रिजेक्शन 2020-21 में उच्चतम स्तर पर थी. Rejection of RTI applications by public authorities was at its highest in 2020 and 2021. तो आपके हिसाब से ये सही है या गलत? एंड 16 of you got this correct. ये गलत है. This was actually lowest during this year. 2020 to 2021 में सबसे कम था, which was about 3.85%. जो RTI applications होती हैं, there are many applications that also get rejected, and जो 2020-2021 का साल था, उस दौरान this rate of rejection was the lowest. And the 16 of you got this correct. Let's see if you are on the scoreboard now. Yes, you are here. Anuj, Naisi, Anjay, Shreyan, and Shatisa. That's a different name. Then we have Jitendra, who is the highest climber with this question. Let's go on to our next question. Double points for this one. RTI अधिनियम 2005 लागू होने के बाद से हर साल औसतन कितने RTI कार्यकर्ताओं को धमकाया और उन पर हमला किया जाता है? On an average, the number of RTI activists threatened, assaulted, or killed annually since the RTI Act was implemented in 2005. क्या ये 48 number of is it 48, 18, 28 or 8? तो हर साल एक average number of RTI activists जो हैं उन्हें धमकाया जाता है, उन पर हमले किए जाते हैं. And 19 of you got this correct. It's 28. While these attacks on the RTI activists, they have decreased by 56% in the last 6 years. क्योंकि 2017 में it was about 30 और 2021 में it reduced to 13. तो 56% decrease हुआ है. But there has been a marginal increase in deaths and assaults on them between 2020-2021. और 100 से भी ज्यादा जो RTI activists हैं, they have been killed. About 182 have been assaulted. 188 have been threatened. और 7 ऐसे RTI activists हैं जो they've committed suicide और उनकी मृत्यु हो चुकी है. तो इस क्वेश्चन के बाद double points did its wonders, and we have Naisi, Dhruv, Shatisa, Sneha and Pushpa. चलते हैं हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन की तरफ. डबल पॉइंट्स इसके भी आपको मिलेंगे. दुनिया भर में खुदरा यानी कि रिटेल, खाद्य सेवा और घरों में उत्पादित भोजन का कितना प्रतिशत हर साल बर्बाद होता है? The percentage of food produced worldwide in retail, food servicing and by households that is wasted every year. 37%, 27%, 7% और 17%. कितने प्रतिशत जो खाना है जो दुनिया भर में because of food servicing, retail or households में that gets wasted? I'm actually so one of you just went with 7%, and that's being highly optimistic. It's 17%, or it amounts to nearly 1 billion tons of food which is wasted every year in retail, food servicing and households. और इस question के बाद the scoreboard once again. Just 2-3 new names popped up. I think we have Tom, Pratham and Ayush who just entered the scoreboard here. और तनु is the highest climber. चलते हैं हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन की तरफ. एक भारतीय परिवार हर साल औसतन 50 किलो खाना बर्बाद करता है. An Indian household on average wastes 50 kg of food every year. आपके हिसाब से क्या ये सही है या गलत? On an average okay, 35 of you got this correct. ये सही है. And although this is actually the least, काफी कम है ये अगर बाकी देशों के साथ compare करें तो. This is much less than most developed countries. और that being said, it is still, if you see India, 4th hungry person worldwide is an Indian. So that's still a lot. And with this, we move on to our scoreboard once again. I think just the last 3 positions are changing. So we have again, Ayush has just entered the scoreboard and Pratham, Shweta. और हर क्वेश्चन के साथ एक नया व्यक्ति जो है वो हाईएस्ट क्लाइंबर होता है. And now we have Mayur. Dhruv and Shatisha are just they've taken their lead. चलते हैं हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन की तरफ. भोजन की बर्बादी का वैश्विक ग्रीन हाउस गैस उत्सर्जन में 2% का योगदान है. Food loss and waste accounts for 2% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Is this true or false? क्या ये सही है या गलत? Wow, this is nice. 24 of you are right and 24 of you are not. ये गलत है. It's not 2%. It's about 8 to 10%, which is a lot. तो जो global greenhouse gas emission है, उसमें 8 to 10% is because of the food that is lost or the food that is wasted, and it contributes to climate change, of course, जिसकी वजह से extreme weather events that you can see nowadays that happens. और reducing food loss and जितना कम से कम food waste किया जाए, that will help support food security for most poor nations, and it will also help in climate change mitigation efforts. So with this we have, it looks the same, our scoreboard is the same. तो चलते हमारे अगले question की तरफ. Double points इसके आपको मिलेंगे. एक वर्ष में खाना पकाने के लिए केवल एलपीजी का उपयोग करने वाले एक सामान्य परिवार द्वारा आवश्यक न्यूनतम सिलेंडरों की संख्या. Minimum number of cylinders needed by a typical household using only LPG for cooking needs in a year. तो हमें एक minimum number of cylinders एक घर को जो चाहिए होते हैं, LPG cylinders जो चाहिए होते हैं for cooking, that is 14, 27 और 4. आपके हिसाब से कितने minimum number of cylinders एक house को चाहिए होते हैं in a year, a typical Indian household? 22 of you got this correct. 7 जो है, that is the minimum number जो एक typical house को in India जो अपने सारे cooking needs के लिए LPG का इस्तेमाल करते हैं, उन्हें minimum 7 cylinders की आवश्यकता होगी. और इस question के साथ scoreboard we have Dhruv, Pratham, Ayush, Shweta and Tom has just entered the scoreboard. Sharvani is the highest climber. Let's see what happens to our scoreboard by the end of the quiz now. हर 10 में से 9 शहरी परिवार स्वच्छ ईंधन का उपयोग करते हैं. 9 out of every 10 urban households use clean fuel. क्या आपके हिसाब से ये सही है या गलत? Fifteen of you got this correct. ये correct है. This is actually true. 9 out of every 10 urban household they use clean fuel for cooking. और इसके साथ अब हम रूरल हाउसहोल्ड्स की बात करेंगे हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन में. तो चलते हैं हमारे अगले क्वेश्चन की तरफ. 10 में से 4 ग्रामीण परिवार स्वच्छ ईंधन का उपयोग करते हैं. 4 out of 10 rural households use clean fuel. क्या ये सही है या गलत? अभी हमने urban households की बात करी and we saw that 9 out of every 10 urban households they use clean fuel. Now when it comes to rural households, आपके हिसाब से क्या ये सही है या गलत? 4 में से 10 ग्रामीण परिवार, ये बिल्कुल सही है. Almost जो 3/5 of India's population है, it uses clean fuel, which is about 58.6%, and this includes LPG, biogas or electric sources for cooking. And this was as per NFHS 5. और ये जो NFHS 4 से अगर compare करें तो this is 15 percentage point increase from that previous survey that was done during the NFHS 4. पर ये जो disparity in clean fuel usage between the rural and urban population, it is quite stark, as you can see. For urban households, this was about 9 out of every 10 urban households they use clean fuel, and वहीं ग्रामीण परिवार यानी कि rural households में 4 में से 10 में से 4 जो परिवार हैं वो अभी भी सिर्फ वो ही स्वच्छ ईंधन का उपयोग करते हैं. And with this, we have a scoreboard. which is looking exactly the same. I think the true and false, you have to be really quick because these guys are smart at it. तो चलते हैं हमारे आज के लास्ट क्वेश्चन की तरफ. एंड पिछले क्विज में शायद किसी ने कहा था कि उन्हें पजल्स बहुत पसंद है, सो वी हैव दिस वन पजल फॉर यू टुडे, और ऑब्वियसली डबल पॉइंट्स फॉर द पजल क्वेश्चन. खाना पकाने के लिए ठोस ईंधन यानी कि सॉलिड फ्यूल का उपयोग करने वाले परिवारों के आधार पर इन राज्यों को उच्च से निम्न में रैंक करें. Rank these states from high to low on the basis of households using solid fuel for cooking. और आपके जो ऑप्शंस है वो है छत्तीसगढ़, झारखंड, उड़ीसा और बिहार. Solid fuel, which is not clean fuel, which is not good for the environment, which is not good for our health, उसकी हम बात करें तो ऐसे कौन से, तो आपको इन राज्यों को उच्च से निम्न में रैंक करना है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू जहां पर सबसे ज्यादा जो हाउसहोल्ड्स हैं वो अभी भी सॉलिड फ्यूल्स का इस्तेमाल करते हैं उसके आधार पर. 20 more seconds, थोड़ा सोचिए और फिर उत्तर दीजिए. Okay, so none of you got this correct. It's okay. It was a difficult one. So I think we know our winners, but I'll just tell you a bit about this one. Around 41% of all Indian households and 56% in rural areas, they still use these solid fuels for cooking. This can be in the form of wood, coal or cow dung. और ये बिल्कुल भी हेल्दी नहीं होता है फॉर one's own health because this can cause many respiratory problems. साथ ही साथ एनवायरनमेंट के लिए तो बिल्कुल ही बहुत हानिकारक है. और झारखंड is the state which leads in this with about 67.8% households still using solid fuels. Then we have Chhattisgarh with 66.4%. उसके बाद है उड़ीसा 65% और बिहार 62%. तो अब हम क्विज के एंड पे आ चुके हैं एंड नाउ वी विल जस्ट लुक एट आवर पोडियम और देखते हैं कौन है जो आज की किताब जीत कर जा रहे हैं. थर्ड पोजीशन पे वी हैव प्रथम एंड सेकंड पोजीशन श्वेता. फर्स्ट पोजीशन ध्रुव. कांग्रेचुलेशंस टू 3 of you. और हमारे क्विज के रनर्स अप हैं टॉम एंड आयुष. You get to the 3 of you win लोहे का बक्सा और बंदूक and I hope that you enjoy reading it. जो आपको क्लेम फॉर्म एक दिया गया है चैट बॉक्स में, आप उसमें डिटेल्स फिल करके अपना प्राइस क्लेम कर सकते हैं. if you want to take the screenshot, if you haven't taken the screenshot, आप जल्द से जल्द स्क्रीनशॉट ले लीजिए. And we'll see you again next week. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it and have a lovely weekend ahead.